A recent report shared by so-called industry experts called Alex Consultants says that Chinese consumers will beat out American automakers and European automakers because they are more aware of what customers want. It also explains why China is eroding the market share of Western car companies, and why that is not going to stop anytime soon, and therefore why these companies and probably governments should be very concerned about the rise of China. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sam Evans. ALX Partners Consultants say that Chinese automakers have a better understanding of what their customers want than other car companies. That includes new tech and more frequently refreshed vehicles. It is true, actually, that the software in most Chinese cars, not all of them, but most of them, is significantly more advanced than that in Japanese cars, for example. And they go on to say, this could be why US automakers will soon lose to those in China, and therefore they're about to lose billions of dollars in profits. That includes the most at-risk company in the world in China, say many experts, which is General Motors. Chinese automakers know, now don't shoot the messenger, this isn't coming from me, this is coming from experts in the automotive industry. They say Chinese automakers know what their customers want better than others. I don't think this is true all the time. In some instances, I agree though. And that's why they're likely to beat out rival car companies, especially those from the United States. That's according to the latest industry outlook from the consultants at Alex Partners, who say Chinese automakers' relentless focus on designing for what technology and features buyers actually want and doing it really quickly, I think that's the key point here, is about to pay off in a big way. It's worth pointing out the fact that China has overtaken Japan this year as the world's largest exporter of cars. That's actually never going to reverse itself. In fact, it's simply going to get worse. More and more sales, Japanese automakers will go to Chinese automakers. Chinese auto players are already growing rapidly. They're expected to outsell foreign brands in China for the first time this year. In fact, they already did over the first 6 months of this year. That is the first time that has ever happened in history. Alex Partners says that the share of Chinese brands will reach 65% there by the end of the decade. I think they're wrong. It'll be 75%, largely driven by gains in electric car sales. If automakers such as BMW, Toyota, all the other brands, right, Volkswagen, if they were going to have any impact in the electric car market in China, which is now becoming the market, they would have already done so. It would have happened this year. It hasn't happened. All of them have launched EVs within the last, 6 months, 12 months, etc. None of them are making any mark whatsoever. Top 20 best-selling electric cars in China this year, not a single one of them. Not a single one of them is from one of those manufacturers. That's pretty worrying. Only Tesla, that's it. As for those companies' success outside of China, they led in terms of global exports for the first time earlier this year, beating the usual frontrunners Japan, Germany, and Korea, and they show no sign of slowing down. Their exports are growing significantly. Just look at what's happening in Australia. Chinese cars are displacing Japanese cars here in Australia at a pretty alarming pace. That's really the big story, the success of the Chinese electric vehicle brands first in China. And now we're seeing evidence that there are opportunities outside of China as well, said Stephen Dyer, head of Alex Partners, Asia Automotive and Industrials Practice. And clearly, there's a big takeaway here. This is a big hint that some of the world's biggest automakers should be in for a wake-up call to those in the US. Any advantage that companies such as Ford and General Motors had in the past has been negated by them losing a lot of ground in the Chinese market this year. Massive ground, in fact. And car makers there keep finding ways to capitalize on their rivals' shortcomings. The Chinese brands have done a really good job of understanding what consumers want in China, Dyer said, and also understanding what they're good at and focusing their resources on delivering those consumer wanted attributes and having good enough performance of the other attributes that the foreign brands have traditionally excelled at. Here's an example. 3 cars. People keep saying EVs are too expensive. They keep saying this. Now, I don't agree, but people say this. And I understand if you say this, therefore it becomes real. Maybe it is real for a lot of people. What did Chinese car companies do? They said, okay, well, no problems. 3 different models. All of them launching in Australia within a matter of months. All costing around $27,000 or under US dollars. What legacy automaker can compete with that? There are none that can, and there are none that even want to attempt to do so. The other thing that Alex Partners says is that Chinese brands offer more unique styling and design inside and out, as well as better advanced driver systems for driver fatigue monitoring, lane departure warning or lane keeping assistance, automatic emergency braking, and voice recognition for any given segment or price level. Now, I can't confirm that being a fact. I have driven BYDs. I wouldn't say that they had particularly good advanced driver systems at all. Teslas have much better, but the reality here is that may be true for many different electric car brands in China. Consumers in other car buying markets like the US might soon emulate the wants and needs of those in China. Alex Partners experts say that's bad news for the car makers that assume that buyers still care about vehicle attributes like ride and handling more than technology and features. Chinese brands, especially the most popular EV manufacturers like Li Auto, NIO, BYD, and Aeon, are keeping their models fresh. Their vehicles average only about 1.3 years on the market, compared with the non-Chinese brands averaging 4 years. This freshness is really a critical buying factor for Chinese brands, Dyer said. The older a model gets on the market, the less desirable it is. These companies are able to get products in front of buyers in a very short time, something that other firms across the globe just haven't yet mastered. New car launches out of legacy automakers are often slowed down by traditional way of doing things. Have a look at BYD. This is really true in their instance. They have so many models, I've lost count. They're just announcing models here, there, and everywhere constantly. NIO as well. Now, how they can compete on price whilst doing that, I don't think anyone knows. Chinese companies simply aren't constrained in the same way, though, that the big Titanic legacy automakers are. Nor do they allow delays. They're more comfortable taking risks, even if it means having to update software once a vehicle has already come out. Taking on a startup mentality instead of being locked into stringent product development processes. Companies like Volkswagen, for instance, have struggled with that. Obviously, Volkswagen has mightily struggled with its software. What did it do as a result? It went and bought a Chinese software company for $2 billion to fix its software problems. Apparently it's worked. They will become bigger and stronger competitors and players, potentially a source of disruption for some of the mature market automakers, said Dyer. We believe it means that mature automakers have to change the way they do business to meet this disruptive competition. Will this be a threat to US automakers in the United States? The answer is no. I mean, will automakers in the US continue to do what they're doing now already, buying parts en masse from companies like Hyundai, Grobus, and Chinese manufacturers? Of course they will. So will that mean that many of these you guys will be buying in the US will be largely actually Chinese parts anyway? Yes, probably. But companies such as Ford and General Motors have the US market. It's a captive market because, well, for one, they make good pickup trucks, and that's a huge percentage of the market. China doesn't. For two, they have policies such as the IRA, making it almost impossible for China to make significant inroads into the US. And outside of North America, it's a completely different story. Remember, there's 3 big car markets in the world. There is Europe, there is China, and there is North America. They're the 3 biggest by far. That makes up 80% of the global car market. China have just taken China. And they're taking more of China by the second. Next up is Europe. That will mean China will dominate 2 of the 3 biggest auto markets in the world by the end of this decade. That's why Stellantis are begging the European Union to enforce anti-China policies. Will they do it? They haven't shown any signs yet of actually listening to Stellantis' warning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.